Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I thought I would talk about something that I haven't really talked about at all on my channel. A few weeks ago, I posted a video showing some of the highlights from the King Richard's Renaissance Fair that I went to, and that has gotten quite a few views lately, so thank you for that. And I thought I would make a video related to that and talk about some tips that I've learned over the course of going to Renaissance fairs and things that I think that someone who has never gone to a Renaissance fair before would find useful if you plan on attending one. To give a little bit of background, my husband, Dan, has gone to Renaissance fairs since he was a kid. The story is that he saw a commercial for King Richard's Fair when he was a kid and asked his parents if they could go. And they said, sure, why not? And they went, and they've been going ever since. Last year was my first time attending a Renaissance fair. Most of these tips also came from my husband, who has gone to many more Renaissance fairs than I have. So if you plan on going to a Renaissance fair in the future, here are some tips. The first tip I have, and probably the most important tip, if you don't pay attention to any of these other tips, pay attention to this one. Purchase your tickets ahead of time. Do not wait until the day of and buy them at the door. The reason why is because they can sell out. The day that we went, they happened to sell out that day. Luckily, we had already purchased our tickets ahead of time, so we were fine, but there were lots of people who waited and couldn't get in because they had completely sold out and they were turned away. And that's especially disappointing if you travel a long distance to go to this Renaissance fair. So definitely purchase tickets ahead of time. To build off of that, you also want to arrive early to make sure that you get parking. Parking is a mess. At least with King Richard's Fair, there are usually parking attendants that will kind of guide you where to park, and you will get a better parking spot if you arrive early, and you are also guaranteed parking if you get there early. Like I said, if they sell out, they will likely not have any parking for you. Even if they don't sell out, there is a possibility that they may run out of parking before then. So that is my tip number 2, is to get there early. My third tip is to look at the weather and the temperature ahead of time and plan accordingly. When we went this past year, it rained that morning. Luckily it cleared up, so they didn't cancel the fair or anything. I think the weekend before that, they ended up having to cancel the fair because of a lot of rain. Because it had rained that morning, it was very muddy. So you definitely want to wear closed-toed shoes or boots in that scenario. If it's going to be colder, then you'll definitely want to bring something that you can put over your outfit, like a jacket or a shawl or something. If it's going to be warmer, then you may want to adjust your outfit so that way you aren't too hot. You will also want to make sure that you wear sunscreen, that you wear bug spray, because likely it's going to be outside and in the woods, so just be prepared for all of that. Tip number 4 has to do with your costume. If you are planning on having a weapon or a sword with you, make sure that you check the weapon policy before you arrive, because not all Renaissance fairs will allow a sword or a weapon being carried around. I think the weapon policy at King Richard's is that you can carry them, you just can't take them out. That's just another thing to be prepared for when you are planning out your trip and your outfit and everything. If you are going to bring a sword, you just want to make sure that they do allow those things into the fair, because not all Renaissance fairs do. Tip number 5 is to make sure that you bring cash. At least with King Richard's Faire, the service is very spotty, so a lot of places just do cash only, like if you are doing shopping or eating food. Some of them do use card, but most of the time they are just going to be taking cash. At least at King Richard's, they do have an ATM, but there will likely be a line for it. So if you want to avoid waiting in line for the ATM, make sure that you already have cash on you. My next few tips have to do with food. So tip number 5 is to plan out what you are doing for food early on. Or if they do food tickets, make sure you purchase your food tickets early. With King Richard's Faire, they do a food ticket system where you have to buy special tickets in order to get food instead of just using cash. So you have to get those food tickets first and then get your food. It is definitely one of the first things that you should do in that case, is go get your food tickets before the lines get really long. As the day goes on, the lines are going to get worse. So my next tip related to that is to be prepared to wait in line for food and drinks, especially around lunchtime and up until probably towards the end of the fair. There are going to be long lines everywhere for food and drinks. I think we waited in line for, I would say, about 30 to 40 minutes before we got our food. So just keep that in mind and be prepared for that. My next tip has to do with food tickets again. Like I said, not every fair does food tickets, but if it does, here's a tip. If you are running out of food tickets and know that you will be needing to get more food tickets later, get some food, then go wait in line for food tickets and eat your food while you're in line. That's what we did this past year. When we realized that we didn't have enough food tickets, we went and got something for us to eat, and then we stood in line to get more food tickets. And that way we weren't hangry and we were able to buy some more food later. My next tip has to do with seeing shows. Plan out your day, like which shows you want to go see, and give yourself ample time in between each show. I would highly advise not to see back-to-back shows if you don't want to miss any portion of certain shows. How King Richard's works is that there are different shows going on at the same time. A lot of the shows repeat throughout the day, so that way if you don't want to miss a certain show, you can see it at a later time. But they're at different spots in the fair, and you need to give yourself time to walk from one show to the other, and usually while doing so you'll miss the first 10 minutes of the next show. So if you don't want that to happen, I would advise you not to go see shows back to back unless of course they are in the same spot. Tip number 9. If Jacques the Whipper is at your fair, do not ask him to play Freebird with his musical whips. That has been a running joke for a very long time, that he does not like the song Freebird, and it's getting kind of old, at least to me. I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but it's getting really old. It's a very old joke. Don't ask for that song, because he will not do it. My next couple of tips have to do with shopping. If you are planning on doing any shopping, I would recommend doing your shopping towards the end of the Renaissance Fair. That way you'll have time to look at everything and not make any impulse purchases. Plus, if you buy anything early, you will probably have to carry it around with you for the rest of the day unless the store can hold it for you, which sometimes they do, but not always. So unless you want to carry everything all day, leave your shopping until the end of the day. My other tip that kind of ties into that, be prepared to spend a lot of money. Nothing is cheap there. Everything is very expensive, and most of the time it is handmade, so you are not going to find any bargains at a Renaissance fair. Keep that in mind when you are looking around at things. You're going to see that things are very expensive, and that is why. My last tip has to do with leaving the fair. Unless you are planning on leaving hours before it ends, if you are planning on staying the entire time, you better be prepared to wait in traffic for a while because everybody's going to be trying to leave. You will likely be stuck in standstill traffic for a while trying to get out of the parking lot. I would be prepared to just kind of hang out in the parking lot for a while. So those are basically all of my tips, a lot of which have to do with planning ahead and just being prepared for certain things to happen. If you have any more Renaissance Fair tips, leave them down in the comments below. I would love to hear some more of your tips if you've gone to Renaissance Fairs. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like it and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any new videos from me. You can also follow me on all of my social media. I have links to my Instagram, Twitch, and TikTok down below. And I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!